Welcome back to normal baseball. The Rangers are headed to the World Series, probably, and Phillies and Diamondbacks are headed to a game seven. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to normal baseball. I'm Alex Normal Dog. That's Lewis. And so obviously, ALCS, NLCS are currently happening. Well, I guess the ALCS won't be happening by the time
Yeah.
this is posted, but we are in the top of the eighth inning of game seven of the ALCS right now between the Rangers and the Astros. But before we talk about what happened in game seven, we have to talk about what happened in games three through six.
Will do.
So, you want to get into it, Lewis?
Yeah, let's jump right into it, man.
Yeah, I mean, game three, the Astros went to Arlington down 2-0 in the series after losing both games at home, and they beat up Max Scherzer again. I mean, beat up is a strong word because I don't think it was as bad of a performance from Scherzer as maybe the box score says. But when you do look at the box score, you see that Max Scherzer gave up five earned in four innings, only struck out four in those four innings. So not one of the best performances from Scherzer. And the Astros were just able to capitalize on it. It was a really pivotal game for the Astros to take because as soon as they took it, I feel like everyone was like, "Oh, well, they are still the Astros. They still do have a really good chance to win this series, even though they did go down 2-0." You know?
Oh, for sure, for sure. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it when you're talking about this Astros team, especially at that point in the series when going up against Max Scherzer, they looked very good. Like you said, it was hard to deny that.
Yeah, and I mean, the Scherzer, this Scherzer start to me, why I don't think it was as bad as maybe it seems on paper, is because three runs were given up in the top of the second, and one of them came with a wild pitch, and then from there, Martin Maldonado hit a two-run single with two outs. So I think without that wild pitch, maybe that inning goes a little bit differently. So like one mistake kind of snowballed it all, which obviously yes is still Scherzer. It's his fault, I would say. But I think that without that mistake, this game goes a lot differently.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, any other thoughts on game three? Because we're going to try to like swiftly move through. Obviously, we know these games
Not really. Just
happen.
it felt like
Oh,
we
all right,
got to
all right.
see some of the Astros players really heating up at like the right time. We saw Jordan and Altuve really starting to catch fire, and it felt like that was going to be unstoppable. However, we're now talking post game seven. It was stoppable. No other way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, these games happened almost a little less than a week ago at this point. Obviously, we're talking about game three. Game seven just happened. So it's like, we are a little bit behind on the games, but still just tell you what happened. And then, game four, moving on, the Astros took it convincingly. They won 10-3. It never really seemed close at all.
Yeah.
The, you know, they just kind of did their classic Astros. And as soon as that series got tied, the amount of people that switched from, oh, Astros, this isn't their year, Rangers, to, oh, right, they're the Astros. They're probably going to win this series. Like, what were we thinking? Type thing was absolutely insane. The amount of people that just switched on a dime. Jordan Alvarez, 2 for 4. Um, he has been amazing in the playoffs. Batting close to 500. He had a triple in Game Seven, which we'll get into. Just electric. But yeah, Game Four, the Astros took pretty convincingly.
Yeah, it was a key point in the series, in my opinion. Definitely a point where when I was watching the game and I saw how dominant the Astros looked, I thought that your prediction, I believe, was or my prediction was Astros in six. Felt
I think
very
Astros.
confident about it. Felt very confident about it. You know.
Okay. But it did look like it was going to go that way after Game Five because Game Five, the Astros took a 3-2 lead in this series. 5-4 victory. Obviously, if you were watching the game, you know that it was capped off, or rather, the reason the Astros won that game is from a Jose Altuve 3-run homer in the top of the ninth inning off of Leclerc, who Leclerc had been amazing. Jose Leclerc had been amazing in the postseason up to that point, and it just felt like they walked John Singleton to put runners on second and first for Altuve. First of all, you can't be walking John Singleton in a ALCS game in the ninth inning in a close game, especially to bring up Jose Altuve. But as soon as Altuve comes up with two runners on, down by two, you knew he was going to hit a go-ahead 3-run home run, and that's exactly what he did.
It was
And
the
it was
most
just so
obvious
casual.
homer.
It was so casual for him. The script writers made it way too obvious. It was so casual. He barely had any reaction. He wasn't pumped up or anything. He was just business as usual.
I mean,
That's exactly what he does.
let's be real. Altuve, the celebration that he had was, "I do this." You know, he is now the second.
There
He has
was
the
no
second.
celebration.
He has the second most home runs in postseason history. Like Altuve just does that. That's his thing. Altuve's thing is hitting clutch home runs. And sure, he might not do it all the time, but when that calendar flips around to October and you're talking about the Astros trying to win another World Series, trying to claim another AL pennant, I mean, there's no guy on the face of the earth I'd rather have up right now than Jose Altuve, no matter what the situation is in the ninth inning.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the most clutch players in probably baseball history at this point in his career.
Easily,
So,
easily.
game on the line, you got Altuve up. You're feeling pretty good. Moving on to game three. I mean, not game three. Game six. Obviously, a must-win for the Rangers. Down 3-2 in the series. Heading back to Houston, where they did win games 1 and 2, but obviously, Astros just won three on the road. So you would think they're feeling pretty good heading back home. It didn't really go that way at all. In Game Six, the Rangers did what they have been doing the entire playoffs, and they just kind of beat up on the Astros pitching, which is something we haven't really seen from the Astros in the postseason. Their bullpen gave up 5 runs. Framber gave up 3, which is well, I guess their bullpen gave up 6 runs, but 5 earned, which is just something we haven't seen. Obviously, Game 5 we didn't even mention was the game where Brian Abreu hit Adolis Garcia after Adolis hit a game go-ahead 2-run homer, I believe it was at the time, or 3-run homer.
I'm sorry? It was a
The
3-run homer.
Adolis hit a 3-run homer, and then his next at bat, he got plunked on the first pitch by Brian Abreu.
For anyone wondering
So that
why
was-
he got hit, though, it was he pimped the ever-living hell out of it. The ball had landed, and it felt like people were already like the MLB professionals or whatever they are, the guys who collect all the balls and take care of important historical balls that people might want, either for Cooperstown or the players. Felt like they already had gotten to him, and Adolis Garcia was maybe 5 steps away from home plate. Like, he was on one. He was not. It felt like if you told me, if you showed me that video blindly, I'd believe you on that being a walk-off home run to win the World Series. Like, it was amazing.
Yes, he pimped it. We didn't even talk about this, like me and you. We haven't talked about it. Do you think he got hit on purpose? Because I sure don't.
I don't know. I'm torn
Because
between it.
you just said if you're wondering why he got hit. I don't think that's why he got hit. I think it was an accident.
I don't know. I'm torn. I'm torn. So
No,
there's a part of me that
no
says
way.
that yes, that is the reason why he got thrown at. However, if you guys know Brian Abreu and how he pitches, high fastballs up and in is like his bread and butter. That's what he relies on the most. Is it unfortunate that it just happened to be against Adolis Garcia, who had just pimped the hell out of a home run? Yes. I don't know if I agree too much with MLB suspending him for 2 games to start the next season in 2024. Definitely think they should have upheld that suspension.
They did uphold the suspension, but the
I
suspension.
mean, they should have gotten
is-
rid of it. Excuse me.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it was on purpose. I don't even need to know who the pitcher was. I don't need to know I don't need to know what he normally throws. I don't need to know what pitch he hit him on. You're in a playoff game, and at that point, it was still a close game. You don't hit someone in a close game
No free
in the
bases.
ALCS
Yeah, no
while
free
it's a
bases.
tied series. While it's a tied and there were no outs. You don't
Yeah,
do that. That's
that
not something you do.
I completely agree with you, but you know, I guess that at least got the last laugh.
I guess so. Well, evidently, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
I guess that puts us into game six, right?
that does put us game six. Yeah, I mean, I started mentioning it, but then I realized we didn't actually mention what happened with Adolis. Game six, I said Rangers took it pretty convincingly, 9-2. They, like I said, they got to the bullpen of the Rangers, and following that Adolis Garcia story, he went 0 for 4 in this game until his last at bat, where he hit a grand slam, which I thought was absolutely insane
Yeah.
because they were booing him all night. He struck out 4 times, and then he got the last laugh in his last at bat by hitting a grand slam,
Did you
and
see?
that capped the fact that the Rangers were going to win that game.
Yeah, did you see his four at bats leading up to that home run? I mean, the man just wanted to hit that ball over the fence so badly. Like, he was swinging out of his shoes for a homer. It was kind of funny because you knew that Garcia could hear the boos and he was really letting it get to him. And that's why he was trying to swing it out of his shoes. I think he only took like 3 or 4 pitches the entire night across 4 ABs leading up to that fifth AB against Ryan Stanek, which he absolutely demolished that ball. It was one of the most telegraphed home runs I think I've ever seen. Like the whole game, he was just swinging out of his shoes, and then you're going to tell me that you're going to leave one kind of just right in his wheelhouse and he's not going to put it over the fence? You're out of your mind.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with you. It was like another one where like the script writers did a great job on that one.
Oh,
That
totally.
one was it was well written.
Especially
I
considering that it looked like he was down and out for the game, and then he comes up against Ryan Stanek and just absolutely mollywops that
yeah
baseball.
yeah the 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts just made it so much better in the end. Um, and I think we have to move to Game Seven now. Um, I, actually, do you want to do the NLCS first up to this point, and then we'll talk about Game Seven because right now Game Seven of Astros Rangers is in the bottom of the eighth.
Yeah,
So I don't know if we can definitively talk about it yet. I
not
mean,
yet.
you can argue that you can, but I guess when you really think about it, you can't. Oh, which ah,
There it is.
we did just get robbed of seeing Aroldis Chapman versus Jose Altuve,
We did.
but
Darn.
we might as well just go into Game Seven right now. We might as well. They're heading into the ninth inning right now. The Rangers are up 11-3. So this game, like we said, technically it's not over yet, but it feels like it's over. Um, Obviously, heading into this game, you might have thought, Astros have the big edge here because Scherzer has not pitched well against them, especially in his last 2 starts against them. Um, and I guess the thing that they didn't really think about is the fact that Scherzer was going to get pulled at the first sign of trouble, and that's pretty much what happened. He only went 2 2/3. He gave up 2 earned runs, but when he got into trouble in the third inning, they took him right out because they knew what it could have led to.
Yeah,
So I
definitely
think
world
benefits
class
them.
move. World class move from
Yeah,
Bruce Bochy. That's the right thing to do no matter who's on the mound. If you're talking about a game seven against one of the best lineups that has been so consistent for so long, at the first sign of trouble, I don't care if it's prime Randy Johnson on that mound, you have to go and get him. And especially if it's Max Scherzer in that situation, who has been up and down all year, making his second start since an injury, completely correct call.
yeah, it's the right call, and not only that, but they brought in Jordan Montgomery. They
Yeah,
brought in another starter. Yes, he only went 2 1/3, but that's all he needed to do was go 2 1/3 because then you hand it to the bullpen. I mean, if you're the Rangers looking at it, but Jordan Montgomery's been lights out in the playoffs, so you just need a couple innings from him, and you can use your bullpen if you're the Rangers because the World Series will not start until Friday, no matter what.
yeah,
So today's Monday, or Game Seven's is on Monday. you have until Friday to have all your guys rested. So you're going to be using your bullpen as much as you need to in game seven. So I think that really did benefit the Rangers, which is crazy to say because if at the beginning of the playoffs you said that I would be saying game seven of the ALCS, the Rangers would rely on their bullpen to win the game and like justifiably rely on their bullpen to win the game, I wouldn't have believed you. But that they turned it around with that bullpen and they've just been able to limit damage. I mean, their bullpen's given up one run in game seven. So I think the pitching side, they did really well working through this Astros lineup with just whatever they needed to do, whatever pitchers they needed to use. I think they did really well. And I think we should also talk about the offensive side because they have scored 11 runs in this game so far.
Yeah, and just to think, we wanted to talk about the NLCS for a minute, but yes, the
Yeah, no. I think we have to talk about this game seven
yeah
first before
that
we head into the NLCS.
this game seven, right? And when you're talking about the bullpen, and yes, I don't even think Rangers fans at the All Star break, if you said to a Ranger, we were there, we were at the All Star game, right? We saw a few Rangers jerseys. Imagine going up to one of those fans at the All Star game and saying, "Hey, your bullpen is going to shut down the Astros in Game 7 of the ALCS to win to go to the World Series." They would
Yeah.
look at you and laugh. They would look at me and laugh. They would look at anybody in the face and laugh and say that's simply not possible based on what they've seen so far. And then towards the second half of the season, the bullpen started to look a little bit sharper and everything. And it's all come down to this beating out your division rival who took the division from you on the last day of the season. Just this was the perfect ending to the American League this season was the Rangers using their bullpen to beat the Houston Astros. Very flip flop, you know. Astros kind of went
Yeah.
silent and the Rangers bullpen was locked down. But if I flip Astros and Rangers, you would believe me just as much.
Yeah, it really just it was a surprise. Like I think I said it, before the postseason started. What this Rangers bullpen might be the reason that they don't make a deep run. This Rangers bullpen might be the reason that they don't, beat the Astros. But it's just been the complete opposite of that. If anything, the starting pitching's been shaky for the Rangers.
Yeah.
So I just think, they've done just a really good job. I want to talk about the offensive side of the ball for the Rangers in this game seven because Adolis Garcia is having himself one hell of a game. Right now, heading into I guess they're in the top of the ninth right now. So I don't know if Adolis is getting up again. There's a chance he gets up again depending on what happens. But right now he is 4 for 5 with 5 RBIs in this game. He's got 2 home runs. He's got 2 solo home runs rather. A double. No, does he have a double? Or 2 solo home runs and 2 singles, I believe. Absolutely incredible. He set a postseason record for most RBIs in a single series by a single player. He's got 15 RBIs in this ALCS, which is the most all-time in a single postseason series from a player. He's played the villain role so well. We talked about how much in Game 6 they booed him at Minute Maid Park. And, obviously he got the last laugh in Game 6 with that grand slam, and the Rangers won the game. And now he's getting the ultimate last laugh in this game, going 4 for 5, 2 homers to just absolutely rout out the Astros. Just Adolis has played the villain role so well. It's like it's been one of my favorite storylines in any recent postseason. To be honest, it's just it's just been fun. It's just been fun.
Yeah, the Adolis villain role. Honestly, let's just say it the right way that the entire Rangers lineup has been the villain in terms of
No.
like for Houston, it's just Adolis has been the center point. He's been like the Joker, of their Batman-esque universe type of thing, which is it's high praise. Don't get me wrong, Joker, hard role to fill, big shoes, and Adolis has done it perfectly in the sense of he silenced them. He's done everything that he could possibly do to keep the Astros and their fans in check throughout not just Game 6 and 7, but throughout this whole series on both sides of the ball. And yes, the offense stands out more, but the defense, he's looked good. That powerful arm has prevented a few runs. I just think that this lineup, right, this absolute dominant lineup from the Rangers is something that is deadly when you're looking at just the top two of Cedar and Simeon. That's like Jordan and Pippen type of thing in terms of the matched capabilities of these players. And then when you look at the rest of the lineup, it really relies on them being good. Evan Carter, who's now their three-hole hitter playing left field for them. Adolis Garcia, Mitch Garver, Jonah Heim, Nathaniel Lowe. Like, these guys all need to be very, very good if they wanted to go this far. And guess what? They've been more than good. They've raised the bar for me for what I should expect from them moving forward if this is what they're going to do. And Corey Seager is now stepping up to the plate with a triple needed for the cycle. Can he get it?
Yeah. I mean, Corey, well, he flew out, so he did not get it.
Damn, I'm behind on my streak.
No, that's fine. Corey Seager, you just mentioned him, he did struggle a little bit in this ALCS, but tonight he went 3 for 5 with an RBI, a couple of runs scored. Marcus Semien had a really good game 6. And game 7 wasn't really his game. He did just have a single, but, obviously it's kind of garbage time at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really just been Adolis Garcia, and we can't forget to mention a guy like Evan Carter, who's absolutely gone off. He's batting third as a rookie. Not only is he a rookie, but he hasn't been playing all season.
No.
So this guy got called up, a month and a half before the season ended, and he's batting third in their Game 7 ALCS lineup. Nate Lowe in the ALDS and the wild card series wasn't really that hot. He wasn't playing too great, but I think now he's on a 5 or 6 game hitting streak. He's just been getting on base, and it's been that type of thing for the Rangers. The guys who weren't really producing started producing, which made it okay that the guys who were producing produced a little less. Their lineup just balanced out, and they just continued to be as dominant as they have been, which is honestly really, really impressive against this Astros pitching staff. And especially in this Game 7 against Christian Javier, they drove him out of that game. Christian Javier.
Very fast.
Christian Javier has been a very well-known to be, from last year and part of this year, a really good postseason starter.
Yeah.
And then in Game 7, they hit him for 3 earned in a third of an inning pitched. I mean, they came to play. The Rangers came to make the World Series, and they are currently 3 outs away. So we can only assume that they will.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, Javier did get lit up a little bit. The Rangers just doing what they do best in terms of absolutely jumping on the first sign of a pitcher maybe not having his A game stuff. Only gets 1 out before he gets pulled, and then just like the pitching staff, they stringing together guys like Phil Maton, JP France, Hector Neris, like getting outs from them and all that is not easy because we know that I almost said the Astros lineup. We know the Rangers lineup can hit those guys, especially
Right.
JP France, who got lit up for 4 earned runs. It's just, it's upsetting to see a team of this caliber in terms of the Astros, of like the power that they hold and how good they were all season and how good they've been for the last 5-6 years of baseball, to see them go out this way. Like, this feels very deflating, but if we know the Astros, they'll probably go win 130 games next year somehow and win the World Series. So
Yeah, I was gonna say in terms of the Astros game plan going into this game, there's no way to really plan for Christian Javier to throw a third inning.
no,
I'm
you
sure
can't.
going into this game, they were maybe thinking absolute worst, he throws 2 innings or maybe 3. In that situation, you can go to your bullpen. The Astros have the bullpen that can go for 6 innings.
Oh yeah,
But once Javier only goes a third of an inning and you start to have to turn to starters, they used, Hunter Brown and
Altuve
JP
just went
France.
yard, by the way.
Of course he did. Of course I'll take Leland Yard. 11-4 now, by the way. But once you start to have to rely on the starters coming out of the bullpen to keep you in the games, you're gonna run into a starter that doesn't have it, that that they're gonna hit off of. So I think that's just a recipe for disaster, and that's exactly what it was for them.
Totally, totally. And just another thing
But
with the
yeah, I'll
Astros
see what they
game.
did homer.
Yeah. Another thing with the Astros and their game plan. I mean, not starting Mauricio Dubon over Chas McCormick in center field, a little bit questionable to me. You know,
Yeah, Jabon was having a good postseason though.
Dubon batting 320 this entire postseason and has played very good defense. Like, don't get it twisted in center field. And that became a factor during the game. I believe McCormick did drop I don't want to call it a routine fly ball, but definitely a ball that should have been caught that McCormick let get down when I think Dubon would have probably had a better shot at grabbing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like, obviously you talk about the defensive side of the ball. I think the Rangers probably win this game anyway if Mauricio Dubon is starting or not starting.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. But I'm just in terms of game plan, like it felt like
Bregman
they
walked,
had a
by the
better
way.
shot.
So Bregman just walked. So the Astros do have runner on first, no outs. Still down 11-4 though. So
Oh my god!
um,
Imagine the
Jordan
Astros
is
win.
up. Jordan is up right now. He's 3 for 3 with a walk. So let's see what Jordan does. I mean, Jordan this postseason, by the way, regardless of if the Astros, somehow mount the greatest comeback of all time right now, is having one of the best postseasons I think I've ever seen in my entire life. He's batting 476 in the postseason,
Second best.
um, with a 1500 OPS, 1.521 OPS. He's got 6 home runs. Uh, he's got 20 hits, and I'm willing to bet that over half of them have been extra base hits. I think
Probably.
that's a fair thing to say. I don't have the exact number
I would
of
agree with you on that, and if it's not, it's probably very close because that's just what Jordan Alvarez does.
I'm well now I want to check.
Now he's gonna check.
Okay, I can't check. Forget it.
Anyways,
But yeah, no, it's Jordan definitely needs to be highlighted. He has been one of the better, one of the best rather postseason hitters in the last few years. Since he really came up with the Astros and started to dominate. Um, so again,
for sure.
you mentioned it. This Astros team will probably be back next season. They still have a very good team. Jordan just struck out, by the way.
I'm very
Um,
excited to talk about them and a lot of other teams during the offseason because man, I have I have so many thoughts about the Astros, and I really want to get into it.
yeah, well, that's a postseason thing. I wanted to try to
Off season,
delay. That's what I said. No.
postseason is what you said. That's an off season
Oh,
thing.
my fault.
No, you're good.
Off-season thing.
You're good.
I was trying to delay as much as possible because I want this game to end officially before we start talking about the National League. But I guess we might as well get into the National League. The winner of this game seven, most likely the Rangers, will obviously, when it gets official, will will say. But
They'll go to the World
they
Series.
don't know. They don't know who they're playing yet.
No, they don't.
The Phillies and Diamondbacks are currently tied at 3 games apiece, heading to a game seven tonight at the time of this being uploaded.
Yeah.
This series has been surprisingly close.
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect this to get to a game seven. I did not think that the Phillies would lose a single game at home. Um, if we're going back to game three, which I think we should, that's what we did for the other series. It doesn't take too much explaining. The Diamondbacks won game three, 2-1. Pretty close game all around. A couple of really good pitching performances.
Brandon
Um,
fought masterclass, by the way, in Game Three. Five and two
Brandon
thirds innings
fought,
pitched, 9 strikeouts and no earned runs. Oh my god!
and Ranger Suarez pitched
Yeah,
really well.
he did.
I don't know his exact line, but that is also the pitching matchup for game seven. So hopefully we get to see another close game in game seven. Um, so Diamondbacks, came back after losing the first two in Philly. They took the first one in Arizona. They uh, made it a 2-1 series. Game four, they the Alec Thomas 3-run home run. I mean, yeah, 3-run home run game in the bottom of the eighth inning.
Two
Gave them
run
another win to tie the series.
2 run homer, I believe, and then Gabby Moreno with the single that gave them the lead.
Yes, I believe you're right.
Yes, so that
Because
that's what happened.
at this point, that was a few days ago.
Yeah, and honestly, if the D-backs go on to win Game 7 tonight, as of the time of this posting, obviously, then the Diamondbacks should consider retiring Craig Kimbrell's number because, God, for a couple of these games, Craig Kimbrell has been the catalyst in the wrong way for the Phillies, giving up some very crucial mistakes. Cannot believe it. Just not what you would want out of one of your. I assume going into this postseason, they wanted Kimbrel to be a high leverage, mid leverage guy. And now it's like, do you trust him with a 4-run lead to go out and throw a scoreless inning?
Right, and I guess that's all a matter just of, um, the Phillies have a deep bullpen, but they are, this postseason, they picked Kimbrel to be their save guy. He's coming in, he is closing out games. Meanwhile, I feel like they didn't need to do that. They did not need to just stick to one guy. I think they have a lot of different guys in that bullpen that can um, win them games, like and finish games for them. But I don't think they needed to continue to go back to Kimbrel because eventually, in a 7-game series, once you see a guy a few times, you're probably gonna, there's a chance you get used to him and you start hitting off him, which is what the Diamondbacks have been doing.
Yeah.
And it will, you know, we'll see if they use him in Game 7. If it's a close game, I'd be interested to see if they do want even still opt to use him. Um, but moving on to Game 5, just really quick, just so we can get to Game 7 to talk a little bit more about it. Phillies won Game 5 pretty convincing. It was 6-1. It was kind of a vintage Phillies game.
Yes.
Harper homered, Schwarber homered. It was just
Real,
like the
Real Muto homered. Shout out
yeah,
JT.
it felt like a Phillies home game type of thing, based on like just the score and like who homered and pitching performances. But obviously that game was in Arizona. But it just felt like a performance we would have seen from them in Philadelphia,
Totally.
which is obviously a good thing. And then moving
Especially
on,
with just want to really quick. Just want to say
yeah,
Wheeler going 7 innings with 8 strikeouts and only 1 earned run was just like I personally in the postseason love seeing who steps up to the plate the most. Who's going to be that guy who doesn't just stand there and dominate, but does it in this fashion of it feels like this guy's the best pitcher or the best hitter or the best player on the planet. And Zach Wheeler has yet to not make my jaw hit the floor when I watch him pitch. And this series, I mean, 7 innings pitched with just 6 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 earned run on a homer, nonetheless, was just like, whoa. Zach Wheeler
yeah,
is a god among men when it comes to the postseason for the Phillies.
I agree. Very impressive. I do want to say maybe we should pause from the series just for a second because the Rangers are 1 out away.
Uh, they
Um,
are. Kyle Tucker's got a 1-1 count in the bottom of the ninth. 2 outs.
2 out. Runners
Whew.
on first and second. It's 11-4. Um, obviously, we already talked about this, but I just felt like it was, we'll
Necessary.
pause for a second
Yeah.
while give our little live reaction to the official ending of the game.
All right. Kyle
Um,
Tucker, check swing strike. 1-2 count with 2 outs.
yeah,
Adolis
1-2 count.
Garcia
2 out.
and the rest of the Rangers are ready to party.
That's it.
Bruce Bochy is looking to move, or is now finally 3
Wait,
and
wait,
0
wait.
in Game 7s.
Wait. That's it. Tucker just grounded out.
Wow.
Right? I mean, I'm
Yes, they
behind,
did.
but I think so.
Oh
Yeah, he
my
grounded out
God.
to what, first?
He
Right.
grounded out to second, Marcus Simeon.
I should just keep my broadcast on. Stop switching
And
tabs.
and with that, the Texas Rangers are your 2023
Yeah,
American League champions.
yeah.
Congratulations to them. You have to play one of the best brands of baseball to get past these Astros, and guess what? They did it. Just
They did.
round of applause. Round of applause.
They did. They played an amazing brand of baseball the entire series. And I think I said, by the way, don't want to toot my own horn, but I did pick Rangers at 7.
Yes, you did. Congratulations.
You don't have to
Congratulations.
check. You don't have to check. I know I
No,
did.
I know you left it right here, buddy. It's right
Oh,
there.
oh, I know. Oh, I know. But I knew, if you're gonna win this, it's gonna be in seven. The Astros aren't going down without a fight, although they did go down without a fight in Game Seven. But you know what I mean. Yeah, really good series all around. But anyway, back to the NL. Game six of that Phillies series was today, or I guess yesterday. And the Diamondbacks did kind of win it pretty convincingly. They did something that no other team has been able to do so far in this postseason, and that is go into Philly and take a game,
Yeah.
just a single game.
Hey,
They
tall
won
task.
5-1 in Game Six in Philly, which again, like I said, is a tough feat in itself. But not only did they do it, they also avoided elimination in doing it, and setting up a Game Seven tomorrow in Philly.
Yeah.
I
Or
think the
tonight.
key for
Tonight.
tonight, at the time of uploading, I think the key for the Phillies for tonight's game, for Game Seven, you have to get a lead early. Because I think once, if they don't score first, I think the crowd is out of it. And once the crowd's out of it, that home field advantage depletes a lot. And I think that's exactly what happened in this game. The Diamondbacks struck first, 3 runs in the top of the second, and I feel like the crowd energy just went down from there, and they weren't able to, feed off it as much. So I feel like that really did play a significant part in that home field advantage thing.
Totally. I mean, shutting down the bank and making sure that it goes silent is a hard thing to do in baseball. Doing it in game six of the NLCS when the Phillies have a chance to clinch is something else. Jumping out early, especially against Aaron Nola, which really shocked me because over the last two postseasons, Aaron Nola has been like the guy, like the number two guy behind Zach Wheeler, and he imploded. 4 1/3 inning pitch, 4 strikeouts, 2 homers, 4 earned runs, and genuinely, if the game ended right there, guess what? If the not if the Rangers, if the Diamondbacks stop hitting right then and there, they still win that game because the bats also fell silent, and that was a really really hard thing to believe that this Phillies lineup did not produce to the level that they have produced all regular season and then during the postseason especially. I wonder if, the fact that it feels like half the lineup went 0 for 4, I wonder if that's going to linger on them for tonight's game, game 7.
Yeah, I mean, with Aaron Nola, I think those back-to-back home runs that he gave up to Pham and Lourdes Gurriel, I think that played a big part in his final line,
Totally.
because obviously he did give up 4 earned. One was, by the way, Ketel Marte triple, which talk about him in a second. But yeah, those back-to-back home runs in the second inning with no outs, never a good thing. He gave up, by the way, all 3 runs he gave up in the second inning were with no outs before even recording it out. So obviously, you know, you see that and you're like, well, this could get a lot worse from here. And I think the Phillies were kind of lucky that they were even close in this game, for as long as they were.
Yeah.
That's just the way I see it. And Ketel Marte, by the way, he needs to be mentioned because he is on a 15 game postseason hitting streak, which is tied for the most all time. So if he gets a hit in Game 7, he'll be the all time leader for postseason hitting streak.
Let's just be real, based on the way that he's been hitting this postseason, feels like it's almost a lock for him to get a hit tonight. I do want to see how, or if I should say, some of the bats in this D-backs lineup are going to wake up, because not only do you need a great performance to win a game 7 in Philadelphia against the Phillies, but you need to really pick it up if you're the bats for going into the World Series. Both teams are missing some guys. I mean, Kyle Schwarber not really performing that well. Trey Turner not doing that well. Harper going 0 for 3, not a good look. But then on the other side, you have Corbin Carroll, who's batting only 250. You have Christian Walker 194. Evan Longoria and Emmanuel Rivera, who are both not hitting over 200. There's some offense that really needs to pick up. And if there's a time to do it, guess what? It's game 7. It's when the bats are against the wall. One run. Get one run, and then let's see what happens from there.
Okay, Cast Schwarber. I think a couple of those saying that a couple of those guys were cold was kind of
For one
just
game.
based off
It
this.
was for one game.
right.
But you
Kyle
don't want
Schwarber,
that going into the
Kyle,
next game.
I understand that, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be cold for the next, 5 games. I mean, Kyle Schwarber in this NLCS, he has a very good debate to win NLCS MVP if they go on to win Game 7.
Yeah.
He has been very, very good. Nick Castellanos, I will admit, has slowed down um, since the end of the DS and the start of the CS. Um, but I think the main thing with getting the bats hot, if you're looking past Game 7, which obviously you don't really, if you're at either of these teams, you don't really want to just kind of look past Game 7 to the World Series already because there's no guarantee you make it. But you're going up against some of the hottest bats ever. Like this Rangers team can drop 10 or more runs on you every single game, no matter who's pitching. So your bats are going to have to either keep up with that or your pitching's going to have to limit it. And I think like I just said, I think the Rangers could do that no matter who's pitching. So I think the bats will need to try to keep up.
Yeah,
So
for
that's
sure.
why I think the bats got to get hot. Which the
So
Diamondbacks bats did get. If we're basing it off one game, most of the guys in the Diamondbacks lineup got a hit tonight. So
yeah, yeah. I'm really looking forward to this Game 7. I want to see how. I feel like this has been the most intense game for the Phillies since the World Series. Like, not only are their backs against the wall, but
I mean,
you
yeah,
you don't want to turn this season from like holy shit we're making this run, like we're doing it again, we beat the Braves, to we can't get past the sixth seeded Diamondbacks who barely snuck into the play, or fifth seeded Diamondbacks that barely snuck into the playoffs. Like, are you serious right now? I want to know, just I'm excited. There's only one way for me to say it. I'm excited to see what happens in this Game 7 because no matter what, let's get one thing straight. They are going to Texas. Arlington will be the spot of Game 1 for the World Series
on on Friday.
on Friday. Make sure, stay first stolen base, win a free taco. That'll be cool. I am looking forward to seeing just this Game 7, though. It's going to be electric. If you if you don't have a way to watch it, find a way to watch it because this is Game 7, the two best words in all sports. Game 7. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it's going to be fun. Obviously, the last question to really ask is who's winning.
I'm gonna be honest. You want my honest answer?
I would hope I don't get your dishonest answer.
My complete and utter like straightforward prediction with you. The Phillies hit a walk off home run.
Oh wow, you're not even just predicting who wins the game. You're
Well,
predicting.
I already have Phillies in 7. So
I had Phillies in 6, so I am going to stick with the Phillies. I don't think they're going to lose at home twice in a row. I didn't think it was going to happen once, so I don't think it's going to happen twice in a row. But predicting a walk off homer is kind of crazy.
I will say the one thing that I am fearful of if I were to be a Phillies fan, if it's time for Paul Sewald to pitch, you know your chances are slim to none, man. Paul Sewald
Well,
just have to highlight the fact that so far in this NLCS, when the Diamondbacks put out on social media that it is time for Paul Sewald to pitch, like the hairs on my neck stand up. Like it is electric watching him pitch. He has looked dominant, and if
hey,
they just, it feels like it's an 8 inning game, honestly. And then they get to the ninth inning, and guess what? It's time for Paul Sewald to pitch.
yeah, I
It's my
mean
favorite thing.
postseason ERA of 0 in 7 innings pitched this season. Just what the Mariners intended. Paul Sewald closing
Closing
out
out
games in
games.
the championship series.
Yeah, just
Um,
like what the Yankees wanted out of Jordan Montgomery, starting the games or getting into a Game 7 and shutting it down. Just how the Yankees drew it up for him and
yeah,
Chapman. They're just you can look at all these guys who on all three now of the teams left standing and looked at these guys who got second chances. I mean, it felt like Nick Castellanos was on a downward trajectory going into the season, becomes an all-star, was batting 300 for most of the season, looked absolutely amazing. Kyle Schwarber, after a 52 homer season or whatever he had, was it 52 or was it 54? Whatever, he had a 50 plus homer
a
season,
lot.
looked really good. And then even this season, Trey Turner was really struggling. And I'm going to say it again, up until the standing ovation, mark it down, standing ovation mention. But up until that, he was not looking good either. Just there are so many different pieces going on in this Game 7 and going into this World Series that it makes you just really appreciate the game of baseball. And I think that's where I am completely okay with leaving my statement of I love baseball and I think everyone needs to appreciate it more because this is amazing. It's one of the best things in all of sports, in my opinion.
No, I agree. It's a lot of fun. I do want to highlight just a couple, like before we go, I just want to highlight a couple of interesting stats, I guess. So the Rangers, if you go back to the Rangers, they are still undefeated on the road in the postseason. Have not lost a game on the road. They are pretty defeated at home. They've lost 3 of 4 at home, but on the road they play really good. Which in the World Series they will have home field advantage. So we'll talk about that more when we preview the World Series once we know who else is in it. And also, this is only the second time in a 7-game series in baseball history that the road team won every single game.
Shout out the 2019 World Series.
The only other time being the 2019 World Series with the Astros. So the Astros losing at home in the playoffs has been a theme in the last couple of years. So
yeah. Let me just also get it out there because this has been the only thing on my mind since the Rangers honestly made the ALCS. And now that they made the World Series, I think I feel very comfortable in saying it. I don't know if you remember, but there's this guy, right? He played for the Angels for a little while, right? Very, very good on both sides of the ball. One after this season, what will be his second MVP, Shohei Ohtani. You know the name?
I do.
He has gone on record of saying that he wants to play for a winning organization and he wants to compete at the highest level. And a lot of people, including you, Alex, had thought that I was crazy for saying that the Texas Rangers should be a threat to sign him. And guess what? If I'm Shohei Ohtani, I am looking at that Rangers team and going, they're doing this with barely any pitching. Put me in that rotation in 2 years, and let's really talk about going undefeated in the postseason. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, there's a really good argument for, wanting to join this Rangers team right now if you're any free agent, not just Shohei Ohtani.
I'm a free agent. I want to join the Rangers.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens in the offseason with that. That's obviously an off-season topic. That's not a topic for...
No, but I have to mention it.
Shohei Ohtani's not playing for them in the World Series, so...
I just have to mention it.
No, I get it. And that's all I got.
I think that's all I got,
What comes next, we will recap Game 7 of Phillies-DBacks, and then we will preview the World Series between whoever plays the Rangers and the Rangers. So until then, we hope you guys enjoy Game 7. We apologize if you're an Astros fan. If you're a Rangers fan, we applaud. Congratulations.
Celebrate.
And we will see you guys, I guess, tomorrow for the recap of Game 7.